Okay. It's with reference to the budget, which is H. Okay. So if you look at withdrawal from capital reserve for local share and withdrawal from capital reserve excess costs, if you add those two numbers together, you come out with the amount that is on page 2, which is capital reserve transfer to capital projects. Okay? If you take that amount and you subtract the $450,000 that was transferred in there in June, and if you subtract out the $100 that's interest on the line underneath on page 2, interest deposit to capital reserve, you get $5,379,685. Okay? If you take the difference on page 2 from capital reserve, the audited balance as of 6/30/2014, and the estimated balance 6/30/2015, if you take that difference, that is 2,079,685. There is a difference of $3,300,000. So I wanted to find out where that difference is.
I'm not sure you're reading this right, Evelyn, so it's really hard to answer your question. In reality...
Okay, this is what happens, okay? I studied accounting, I know accounting, okay? You take the balance as of the beginning of the year. Any transactions that are in your revenue, etc., go in and out. So if you take those and you add and subtract them, you should be able to come to the balance at the end of the year. Okay? So if you have withdrawn that much money from the capital reserve, how can you say that the balance is still $5,829,000?
Because we did not use all the money that in last year's budget was put in the budget to withdraw from capital reserve. By a landslide, we did not use all the money.
Okay, I'd like another report from you. I'm going to request another report as to the actual dollar amounts that went in and out of there, because there was still a discrepancy the last time when I did that.
I did a whole report for you that showed there was not. I assume you still have that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to ask another for the transactions from last year.
Evelyn, is it your contention that there's something wrong with the audit? Because the numbers are produced and we are audited annually. I mean, is it your contention that something is amiss with the actual audit, and that I'm curious?
I'm concerned. Yes, I'm concerned because if you're relying on this number to budget for capital expenditures,
yes,
and if this number is not correct,
right,
okay, even if you have outstanding items against it, okay, you cannot pretend that money's in there.
Okay.
Okay, so even if your own checkbook, okay, every month, right?
Bad example, because Veronica takes care of the check.
Okay, let's just say that I write out a check, okay, to the school for a trip, okay?
Right.
They don't cash that right away. That's sitting there.
Right.
But I can't say that I have that $600 for the Frost Valley trip or whatever,
right,
because I can't spend that, because that check is going to come due.
Sure. Right.
Okay? So my contention is it should all add up in the end.
Okay.
So I'm not confident that, you know, if you're saying, oh, we have this much to spend in that account, is that really what you have to spend, or isn't it?
Okay. So it's just so I'm clear then, so your contention is there is in fact something wrong with numbers which are reviewed by auditors who are trained in public accounting and come in here and sit here for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, whatever it is, go through the procedures and the control processes and check the balances and work through all the individual accounts. Your contention is that those numbers that we're relying upon are not reliable.
Possibly.
Okay, so...
Possibly.
So
And that's based on your experience as a CPA. You're a CPA, I'm assuming,
CMA, Certified Management Accountant.
but you're not a CPA.
John, I don't want to speak to you, okay?
I just want to clarify your reference point as opposed to
John,
the
I don't
professionals that are
want to
taking
speak
care of
to
this,
you,
so.
okay?
Mrs. Sluckberg, I think
Thank you.
what happens when you ask the question is, you have the numbers in front of you, and you've taken, obviously, some time to take a look at them. And although they're out for the public to see, the numbers that you are referring to going back and forth, we don't all have in front of us at the time, but what ends up being taken away from your comments this evening is not only could the audit perhaps be inaccurate, but our business administrator for 19 years is not working with our money adequately. So the questions that are being asked this evening, it's not that we don't want to provide you the answer, but I think that the board, if I may, will take offense to the questioning of a valued business administrator, whom I can assure you, I would, and this board would not be sitting here if he wasn't doing his job correctly.
And I don't mean to insult
But-
anyone.
but-
I just
but-
have a great concern because, you know, when you come up with these capital projects like the athletic facility, and then I'm looking and I'm saying, well, if you subtract this, that's not really what we have in there.
And I understand what you're saying, but the athletic facility is done,
No, I know,
and money was not spent on that athletic facility.
right.
But it still remains paramount in your mind in moving forward. And while as a taxpayer and a resident and a parent here, you have every right to ask for that, asking it in this way, in this forum, with all of us not having exactly the same, you know, right in front of us, looking at exactly the same numbers, not that we have is any different, does truly, with all respect, come across as being insulting.
Okay, well, you know, last year I went through the effort to try and I emailed Ed and I asked him, I said, tell me where this balance is, and I never got a response.
I believe that every Oprah request that you requested, Mrs. Slackbarrow, was answered because it has to. It's not a matter of whether or not Mr. Deptula feels like it for the day. He must.
Were there any open requests that I did not respond to, Mrs. Slockbauer?
I know we had emails going back and forth, and I had asked you about the discrepancy between the number that was
Well,
coming
the
up,
fact
and
that
you
I don't
never
give you
resolved
the answer
it.
that you want, which is something wrong, doesn't mean you weren't answered. Can we agree on that?
Fine.
Okay.
So with that said, Mrs. Slackbarrow, if you have a request from Mr. Deptula, you are certainly welcome, as you always have been, to put it forward. I would just appreciate in moving forward that you understand where we're coming from. And unless something is shown different by auditors, which work on their own and independently determine how our operation is running, that you also respect and appreciate the work that we have done here, and most specifically, Mr. Deptula.
And I will put in a request for the
Thank you.
information for this past year.
Good evening. My name is Kate Munoz. I live at 14 Long Avenue. I don't know if I represent a group, but I do have some fellow moms with me tonight, and we're curious to find out where the Board of Education stands in regards to expanding busing to children within the 2 and 2.5 mile radius of the school system.
John.
Yeah, there's going to be a report in a few moments on from the committees. We met a little earlier today, and in addition to the previous meeting we met, so I'll have a report for you in a moment.
Okay, if I may, I just want to give you some information that I myself have found on busing safety, because one of my concerns has been the mother of 3 daughters, one of them who has finished Mahwah and has moved on to college and has had an excellent career here at Mahwah, and my second daughter, their last name is Downey, so my second daughter starred in the school play, and we love Mahwah. The problem that I have is when my daughter, who's now a freshman in high school, used to walk home, she'd be walking with her backpack with a girlfriend, walking down 202, and believe it or not, she would get heckled. Whether it was men in trucks, blowing their horns, what have you. And so now my 16-year-old daughter refuses to walk at all. And so just to give you an idea, I went on just to see what some of our national societies have found, because to me there's power in numbers. And I went to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to find out when do most luring attempts happen, because it's been going on in Bergen County. And my biggest fear as a mom of daughters especially, and I know, look, I know it's an equal, but I'm going to tell you the numbers. Actually, females were more likely to be lured. 70% involved a suspect driving a vehicle, as we know, in these luring attempts that happened between 2005 and I believe it was 2010. 34% occurred between the hours of 2 and 7 p.m. 32% happened when the child was going to or from school or a school-related activity. 18% involved sexual assault or indecent exposure. 68% involved a female child. So if you were to ask me if I feel comfortable in the township of Mahwah having my daughter walk down Island Road, cross at Mahwah Bar and Grill, and walk 202 down to either Catherine or North Ramapo Avenue, the answer is no. And it's not just safety and getting hit by somebody not paying attention. It's also the fact that there's a pretty high chance with everyone that's coming through Mahwah and no one monitoring these roadways that something could happen.
We'll have a
So,
report shortly.
no problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Superintendent's report. I do. I have a short superintendent's report. Good evening, everyone. Prior to introducing our New Jersey School Board's representatives, that's kind of your cue you're coming up with. What I wanted to do is I know that Chris is going to talk a little bit about, some neat stuff happening in the schools, but I wanted to do an overview tonight, and I'll make it brief, but hopefully succinct. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we have an incredible group of teachers in our district, and along the way, for those of you that have kids in our school, to send out an email and give a pat on the back is absolutely sincerely appreciated by the staff, and they're absolutely worthy of that. In an email I wrote to the staff this week, I said it's as much as helping kids with college applications as it is helping them tie their shoes, or simply calling a parent to say they've done a great job. We are incredibly fortunate to have the staff that we have in Mahwah, and I want to say thank you. With that said, it's a busy week because today is also National Nurses Day, and that's May 6th. And a huge shout out and thank you and appreciation to our nurses who, in speaking to personally today, I said you help our students and you help our staff, I'm sure. And you're kind of behind the scenes, but I have always felt that if kids feel good and people feel good, there's nothing we can accomplish. And our nurses take care of that. So to Debbie McGuire over at Betsy Ross, to Nancy Mertz at George Washington, to Susan Parker at Lenape, to Dorothy Mullen at JK, to Donna Singoli at Ramapo Ridge, and to Mahwah High School, Mary Beth Stokowski, I would like to say thank you on behalf of the board for everything that you do for our kids all the time. So a thank you to our teachers, our paras, our staff, and our nurses. This evening, Al Annunziata has reached out to us. He is our New Jersey School Board's field representative, and he asked for a couple of minutes just to introduce himself to our board members. We do have a couple of new board members, so I will turn it over to you, Al.
Thank you, Dr. Schoen.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I won't keep you. I know you have a full agenda. I just want to introduce myself to you. I've been with New Jersey School Boards going on 3 years. Haven't made my way up to Mahwah yet, so I figured I would try to schedule that in, and I'm glad you're able to have me. I want to just kind of cover a couple of things, but to let you know a little bit about myself, I'm a retired educator, 35 years. Spent the last third of my career as a superintendent and a shared superintendent, so I certainly understand what it's like at the other side of the table. And my job with New Jersey School Boards is to represent all of the boards of education in Bergen County. I have the entire county and then a couple of other districts outside. And I come around and visit the boards and provide training at their request. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing right now, and then if you would like any support, please let me know. Almost everything we do is part of your dues base. There's no additional cost to it at all. So if you look at the sheets I brought, the first one is a new program started last year at Workshop. It's called Sustainable Jersey. As you may know, you're already in there? Good. Because lots of towns are doing that, and we also want to recognize and ensure that boards know about it as well. So you're already ahead of the game on that. And there's obviously levels of that too, so hopefully you'll continue to move in those levels. The second one is also new. It's our grant program. It's available online. You can get access to it. It's a database for all education grants in New Jersey and the United States. So if you have staff that you want to work on it, you can. We have a partner with it as well, and if you're interested in a variety of services, they can help you with those, depending on what services you would like. The third sheet is our board responsibility sheet, our 12-month calendar that we update every year. Just gives you an idea of what's happening when, and to kind of give you each month by month what needs to be done when, to kind of keep you on track. I have it electronically. If Mr. DePula or Dr. Schoen would need it, I'll be glad to share that with you, just let me know. And then the last sheet is our program sheet for field service, just a sample of some of our programs that we offer. I also do customization, we do retreats as well for boards. This time of year I'm doing a lot with ethics. I know we had 2 board members here last night. You heard Mike Calver speak about all of the new advisory opinions that have just come out beginning in January, and now we've gotten more out in March. And they're very, I don't want to say disturbing, that might be too strong of a word, but very concerning. I think that would be the appropriate word. So I do provide that for boards as well. It takes about an hour, so if you're interested in that for the rest of the board, I'll be glad to do that. We also do goal setting, etc., and you can see all those different programs that we offer. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
What's concerning about the new ethics stuff?
Well, there's 36 ethics ethics advisories that were released January 9th. And that was because there's only 5 members of the 9-member board of the School Ethics Commission. The governor just replaced the 6th member. You need 6 members to release the advisory opinions. So they backed them up for 2 years. So they all kind of came out at once. And then there was 2 others that just came out. There's a variety of different topics. Probably, generally speaking, there's 3 areas I think that you would want to be concerned about. The definition of others now is expansive into other relatives that normally aren't considered relatives, such as cousins and nephews and nieces and brother-in-law and sister-in-law, etc., including cohabitants. That's now in the other category. Also volunteerism. Board members who volunteer, there's limitations now to your involvement as a board member and a parent in the district as a volunteer. And then there's one also about board committees interviewing staff other than the superintendent and VAs in searches. So those just give you a couple. The other one I think that could be effective to many people is the similar unions. Usually you had to be concerned about collective bargaining if you had a relative in NJEA, for example, but now it has to be any similar union. It could be a local municipal union or it could be AFT. So now they've expanded the definition of union. Similar, not necessarily the same.
So the strategy is to basically eliminate as many people as possible from the negotiating committee?
We can't give you the intent of the School Ethics Commission. I think they're trying to make sure that there is no violations and no conflicts, but their reach has kind of gone pretty far. So I can go into detail with you at training, but those are the general areas that you might be interested in on those as well. Other questions? All of my contact information is on that last sheet. I'm the first one listed because in alphabetical order A comes first, last I checked. So feel free to reach out to me either by phone, email, whatever you might like, and then we'll schedule and provide any services you'd like.
Al is really an incredible resource. He comes to our administrator meetings every month, and he's a phone call away, very responsive. I couldn't ask for a better rep, Al. So
Thank
for
you.
taking
Appreciate
time
that.
to be here, thank you
My pleasure.
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the school year.
Thank you.
Too.
That's it, Chris, thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have any open issues we want to?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Let's see. Personnel. Mr. Fair.
Sure. We're currently working on hiring for the 2015-2016 school year. We're actually almost done. So we're hoping that by May 20th, we'll have everyone approved for the next school year. So that's exciting. We're hiring some really high-quality teachers, so we're pretty pumped about that. Also wanted to highlight Samantha Brannon from the high school. She's a high school English teacher, and James DeLessio from the middle school. He's a middle school English language arts teacher. Their proposal for the conducting a workshop for the National Council of Teachers of English in Minneapolis has been accepted, which is a huge honor. So their workshop will be about utilizing video games and interactive apps in the classroom. So that's cool.
Very cool.
Yes. You'll notice agenda item 16A, we have a retirement. Someone who I supervised for 3 years, and I know many of our children have had Maria Benjamin. She is kind, brilliant, hardworking. She's been here for 27 years, and we will be at a loss without her. So.
Not just our children had her, she was one of my favorite
Oh,
English teachers.
oh.
So let's not get crazy.
And, she's also been known for our AP English scores, our AP English language course. Students come back after graduating raving about what they learned about writing and literacy from her, and we love her, so she'll be very much missed.
Did she also teach our SAT course?
Oh yes, SAT, I mean, she taught many courses, but, and she's taught AP English Literature as well as CP English across the board, 9 through 12.
So basically, you can say no to this resolution.
Right. And lastly, just wanted to congratulate Jean Johnson, our director of the play, as well as our high school students who performed last week in Drowsy Chaperone. Did an awesome job. Very proud of them as well.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, for my president's report, I'd love to spread some good news and some positive things in the district. Lenape Meadows hosted a literacy night on April 29th, and it was wonderful. It was school-wide, and teachers planned and prepared different workshops in teams, and the response was tremendously positive. Some of the workshops that they offered were they ranged from pre-K to I guess second grade, but some of them included all grades, right? And so one of the feedback that we got was that parents they wanted to take more of them. They didn't have enough time to get into all of them. So some of them, I could read a few of them. Pre-K, early literacy with Pete the Cat. A first grade workshop was lifting the level of reading at home with conferring and tools to help us with tricky words. Phonemic awareness, and lots of other really wonderful workshops. Mrs. Chrysomalis and Schuschler said that the teacher's professionalism, expertise, and love of teaching and learning were evident throughout the evening and showcased outstanding education that Mahwah children receive every day. So we were very proud of this. It was a really wonderful evening. And that's it for me. Okay, board committee reports. John?
We had a finance and facilities meeting just earlier before the meeting, and I'll let Ed, he's going to present the budget this evening, so he'll discuss that piece of the meeting. The other piece of it was we're still looking at the possibility of extending the service for our buses to be able to pick up in areas that could cause problems. It's not just as easy as putting a driver behind the wheel of a bus and sending somebody to an area and do that. We've got a bunch of kids that we need to get to school safely and efficiently, and it takes a lot of effort by a lot of people to be able to allow that to happen. The next stage of our meeting, and we're moving in the direction, the next stage of it is to really talk to the police and find out what it is that we can do to make a stop safe for our students. So at this point, and then it has to actually go, we have to amend the policy. So it's going to take a couple more steps, but we're moving in that direction to be able to come up with a decision as to how it's going to happen. Within, I would say, I don't know, hopefully by the end of the school year. So it's definitely not something that can be considered for this school year because of the amount of work that needs to go into it. But it will be something that will be coming down the pike. A decision will be made that hopefully for the start of the school year we'll be able to have that out, potentially up and running. And thank you for the information that you shared with us. We certainly, want to make sure it's not an easy task getting kids here, efficiently each and every day. Mahwah is a unique area, as everyone knows. You don't have to tell anybody that lives here. The size of the community and where these buses have to go, and how many stops they do make, and the number of children that actually are affected by this. So It's not an easy task, but it's in the works. It's in the works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Suzanne, did you have
Yep, the community relations report. We had a meeting, and since we have two new members on the community relations committee, we reviewed everything that's at our disposal as far as media and channels that we have of our own that we can use, and also media and platforms we can use that are not ours. And will be, a lot of them we already use. There were about 25 of them that we went over, and we'll be utilizing more in the future depending on, we're going to prioritize what we need to put there.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Policy, did you have anything, or? All right. All right, board member remarks?
I just have some comments and concerns regarding this last go-around of the park testing and the survey that was attached to it. I don't know that parents were aware there was a survey that was given by Pierce at the end of the testing, and I feel that they should have been aware of it. I believe that it was a market survey, and they should have known about it prior to the survey being given to the students. My other concern was about the instructional time, since there was more time given for the students to take the survey. Instructional time, we're losing more instructional time. The survey could have been sent home, and again, allow parents to decide whether they want their students to take the survey. And it's not up to me or anybody else to make that decision. I just think it should be left up to them. And that I don't know if the children made negative comments, if that will adversely affect the grades of the testing. Something that's also, I'm just going to throw out there, I don't know. So it's just concerns that I've had about it. I just wanted to let that be known before the board.
Well, I understand your concern. I am a teacher, so I did administer the test in my district where I teach. And from my experience, most of the kids were done with the survey before the time that was actually allotted for the test portion. So to actually take it for, in where I proctored, did not take any additional time. So that wasn't really an issue. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the test is really reported in as metadata, so the data is not connected to the student. So I don't think that that is also, I don't think the connection between grades and their student response is really an issue as well, to my knowledge. Does anyone, do you have any other, I thought it was metadata as it's reported.
So then the other question is, if it is metadata, then how are we going to know specifically what our children need? And that's another whole issue that could be discussed on a state level. How are we going to know individually what students need? If
Oh, no, not their testing data is associated with that, but the survey results.
Or,
The
okay,
survey
we're being
results,
told, yes.
right, the
Okay.
survey results are not, it's not associated with the student. So, so that, you know, hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, I just think in the future the parents should know this wasn't above and beyond the test. And this was something that a company brought in so they can get information, which I understand completely, they need the information. But this could open up the floodgates to other corporations and companies coming in and just surveying our children. So it's just a concern of mine.
Thank you for your comment. You're welcome. Any other board member comments? Okay, thank you very much. Old business, minutes. Do I have a motion? John Dolan, and a second, Tim?
Mrs. Salverini?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Barron?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry?
Abstain.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Benetti?
Abstain?
And Mrs. Davis?
Yes. Okay, new business. I'd like to take A through G, please. Just take a quick look. 15A through G. Motion, Doug. A second, John Dolan. Discussion? Okay.
15A through G, Mr. Salverini?
Yes.
Mrs. Barron?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry?
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. De Silva?
Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Benetti?
Yes.
And Mrs. Davis?
Yes. I'd like to take 15H at the end, if you don't mind. I'd like to, it's the budget, so I'd like to do that at the end after we're done with the rest of the resolutions. So I'd like to take 16A through L, please. motion? Doug, second, Rick? Discussion?
Yeah, again, 16A, I'd really like to wish Miss Benjamin the best in her retirement. She was definitely one of my favorite teachers in high school. And I know there are huge shoes to fill. You know, I hope we find somebody. Good luck with that. But yeah, she will certainly be missed.
Thank you.
On B, this is a new club, this animation club? Did that come out of the digital media club, and what is, I mean, I love that we have a new club involved.
You know, this particular art teacher, she has a background in animation, so she's done this as her first career. So she's been doing a lot of those things digitally, and she found a niche of students who are very excited.
That's wonderful. Anyone else? Okay.
All right, 16A through L, Mr. Salverini.
No on A, yes on everything.
We're going to modify that. Mrs. Barron?
Yes.
Ms. Curry?
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo?
I'll give it no.
No on A for you too?
A.
Yeah.
Mr. De Silva?
I don't want to blow it up. Yes.
Mr. Denise?
Yes.
Mr. Gold?
Yes.
Mr. Rivenetti?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes. That was well played. All right, I'd like a motion for 15H, please. Or should we wait, do the motion first, then do the presentation?
Yep.
Okay. John Dolan, and a second, Rick?
In discussion with the Finance Committee and Central Office staff, for those who have been at the last few meetings, we've broken the budget up into various areas. We've spent a lot of time on the areas that are of concern both in this budget and giving the board some idea as to future areas that need to be looked at. So the decision was that we should do a quick overview here, and then board members can follow up with comments or questions. So again, just a reminder of what everybody who shows up at these meetings know, the taxpayers of Mahwah foot the bill for the overwhelming majority of the budget. State aid has stayed more or less the same for the last few years, give or take a few dollars. Fund balance is money left over from the previous year that gets used to underwrite the expenses of the next year's budget. And then last but not least, you have rent and other incomes, which of course are a small part of the budget. In terms of breaking down by the largest 5 categories in the budget, there's no surprise here that salaries will make up about $33 million. Benefits, which includes health benefits, prescription, dental, workers' comp, Social Security, and then some other small items. That gives you about $9.7 million. We've talked a lot about this area again because of both the size and the volatility of the health benefits in our country. Tuitions, we spent virtually an entire evening discussing special ed expenses, and so they're budgeted at 5.244. If you want to take out about 300,000 goes to the academies for students who Mahwah pays for. The rest is special ed. Maintenance, which includes electric, utilities, gas, custodians, maintenance men, hired services to help to clean the buildings. We have the 5.16, and then transportation is 3.4 mil. That includes salary. That also includes salaries and other items. Just a quick picture. Most of these areas are really the ridge through the high school, with the exception of music, phys ed, and art. But you kind of get to see the big picture as to where the dollars are going by area. So in this budget, preliminary budget that was approved, the local tax levy part of the operating budget is going up by the 2%, which is the cap on what we can raise taxes by. Debt service, we're paying off previous referendums. That's actually going down by about 45,000. So although the voters, back when we had elections, the voters would not vote on this line of the budget because they had already voted on it when they approved the referendum. It, of course, is still part of the tax base. So when you put together the operating budget plus the tax levy for the debt service, we end up with a 1.8% increase in taxes budget year to budget year. Good news on the first line there is that the net valuation taxable for Mahwah actually went up by about $50 million this year. So, you know, I think things probably have stabilized in. The school tax rate for 2015, if we approve this budget tonight, would be 1.042. And the math is pretty simple then, that the school tax on a $100,000 of assessed value of your house would increase by $10, and we put it into the $500,000 mark. And questions?
Ed?
Suzanne?
Yes.
The benefits this year, did that go down from last year?
Did the
9.7?
No. No.
Well, aren't they in the, does that include, like, the teachers will all have that level where they were paying in more every year, and we only see something?
Okay, yeah, let me give a longer answer to the question. 5 years ago, I would say, if not every school district, the 95% of the school districts did not have employees chipping in for health benefits. A few had some modest amounts that went in, but nothing that you would call substantial, to the best of my knowledge. So as we all know who sit around this table, 5 years ago, the first year, employees were mandated to chip in 1.5% of their salary. And then after that, we had a 4-year phase-in for contributions. So depending on what plan you have and depending on how much you make, you will chip in an amount for those contributions. And as Suzanne said, it was a 4-year phase-in. So the first year, again, depending on what you make, you would put in somewhere between 1 or 2% to something in the neighborhood of 8.5%. It doubled, it tripled, it quadrupled. So the year we're in now, 14-15, is Tier 4 for Mahwah. So Tier 4 for Mahwah means that we have now capped out the contribution. So when doing the budget for 15-16, the budget includes that Tier 4, but we're not getting that extra $400 and something thousand. Now we're going to get, if health benefits go up by 10%, everybody will chip in 10% more. It will help, but the board's going to pick up the rest. And for the average employee in Mahwah chips in about 22% now that we're on Tier 4. And again, that can range anywhere from 5% to 35%, depending on what you make.
If I can just clarify, that's up to 35% of their health insurance premium, not their salary.
Not their salary,
Okay,
no.
because that's where we started. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
I think most people, so yeah, but you know, the premium, basically round numbers, 10,000 for single, 22,000 for either partner or parent-child, and just a few bucks south of 30,000 for the family plan. So you're talking, as we say in the business office, real money. Thank you.
I didn't
No, this is,
Years have gone by.
and that was,
It went fast.
that was the other reason that, getting back to that 1.6 million, tried to make sure we had a few bucks there more. Because again, as boards of ed, we tend to spend money if we have it, because there's so much we want to do. So, when you add full-day kindergarten, and you add ESS, and you add this, we still have to pay for it. So again, we're kind of transitioning into this new phase now, but I think for next year, we're in good shape, and certainly the year after. Shucks.
Just, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you, Ed, and the administration for putting such a wonderful budget together that continues to allow us to offer very rigorous curriculum, very competitive curriculum, very relevant curriculum, and it's done on a 1.8% increase. I had sat on this table back in the early 90s. The gray hair attests to that. And we were passing budgets at 8, 9% that the community was passing. And because we went to the November elections now, it's up to the board to do it. But we've had to sharpen our pencils very much over the last couple of years because we can't go up by more than 2%. So there's a lot of tough decisions that need to be made, especially when costs go up in certain areas. But not only the curriculum that we offer is competitive and relevant and certainly rigorous, and not to mention the AP courses that we offer here at Mahwah, but also the extracurricular that we're able to offer within this budget. And I'm not just talking about athletics. You take a look at our robotics club that's, national, for Pete's sake. Take a look at our mock trial team that does some amazing things in the county, beating these other schools that, here's a little model coming up against, some Group 4 schools and mock trial and coming back with some hardware, which is nice to see. So the music program's off the charts. There's no question about it. If anybody's been to the middle school, and I was sad to see Scott Singer move on, but if anybody goes up there in the spring or the winter and listens to what's going on up at the Ridge, it's incredible, the music program, and certainly at the high school, just off the charts. So to do it with these smaller increases that were mandated that we can't go up against is a tribute to Ed, Lauren, Dennis, the building principals, the supervisors, for really getting together and understanding that it's not easy to put together something like this. So thank you for your hard work, appreciate it. I think this is something that the community and certainly the beneficiaries of this, our students, can be very, very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any discussion, any other discussion? Okay.
15H, Mr. Salderini.
Yes.
Mrs. Barron.
Yes.
Mrs. Curry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo.
Yes.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Denise.
Yes.
Mr. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Evanetti.
Yes, for the job well done.
And Mrs. Davis.
Yes. Okay, we'll move to public questions or comment. Any questions from the public? All right, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. Ms. Mann and John Dolan. All in favor?
Aye.